Would you join me in pledge allegiance? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mayor.
Here.
Battlefield.
Here.
Brooks.
Here.
Brighton. Griswold.
Here.
Gould.
Here.
Hart. Here. Moran.
Here.
Nogala. Here. Weigel. And Eustace. We have quorum.
We got donuts.
You got camels? Okay, you want to lead us in the song?
Yeah.
I'll lead. I can sing it.
Thank you.
Now I'll let him hear me. Okay. First, we have the executive committee minutes from September 1st.
Second.
Move to second. Any additions or corrections? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We have executive session minutes from September 1st again, I guess. Moved.
Second.
All in favor?
One was regular.
Oh, one was regular. All right,
One was
executive
regular.
session.
Yeah.
Okay. Do we all approve it? All
Yes.
Okay. Executive committee, minutes from September 8th. Move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, under old business, we have the Will County Emergency Telephone System, ETSB board. Before Nick says anything, this has been one of these things that's kind of, we've been hoping to get this board reorganized, but in the interim, we have to keep it functioning. Almost all these appointments are running off, so we have to keep some people in place so they can function. So even though I think Nick, the executive's office submitted a lot of names, I think the executive's going to just request that some names go forward while we're still trying to get this reorganized. So Nick, I'll give you that.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. So first, Darren pointed out I've got a typo at the top. It's ETSB, although I've heard people see ESTB, but it's Emergency Telephone System Board. So sorry, it's not just right.
Remember, I just remember like ET phone home. That's how I.
So
ETSB.
So what was before you? I tried to keep this as simple as possible. I'm going to walk you through it. But the first page is kind of where we're at currently, and the second page is proposing where we could go and some of the impacts. So let's start with the first page. We're currently at 15 existing board spots. That's down from 17 from, I believe, the last time we reorganized because Bolingbrook is consolidated in with Westcom, and I believe the other was Cedar consolidating with Eastcom. And we've been on a downward track for years because we were many more than that. The fact that we're down to 6, I think it was above 18, 19, I don't know.
Then we started out with 21.
21, okay, maybe. But everybody wanted a dispatch center, and then they realized how expensive it is to run, I think, and started cutting. So we're down to 6 right now, but I'll just walk you quickly through the current board composition. And this was set by the county board after a long kind of negotiated process. But we have 1 member from the Will County Board, 1 representative from the county executive's office, 1 from the emergency management at the county, 1 from the IT department, 1 citizen at large, 6 representatives from the PSEP. So each PSEP has a representative out of the 6 currently. We have 2 members from the fire services and 2 from law enforcement. So that totals 15. And like I said, the number's been going down because the ETSB bylaws allowed for when a dispatch center went away, that spot went away. So we are declining on our own at ETSB. Any questions on that, I guess, first before I go into it? So, okay, so the current board status, I did it by the terms that they have. The terms that were up in 2015 are the county board rep, Eastcom rep, fire rep, police rep. The police rep, Bill Mort from Peatone, has actually resigned from the board, so that spot is vacant. He could attend a meeting if we absolutely needed to, but he resigned. He doesn't want to come anymore, so we've got a replacement for him. 2016 was Ken Kroll from the Romeoville Dispatch, Bob Control from the Sheriff's Dispatch, Aaron Klima, the chief of Shorewood, Howard Stevens from Mokina is the fire rep, he's from Mokina, and then Steve Rauter is dispatch from Westcom. So those are all those in 15 and 16 are expired. The ones that expire in 17 are all current. The one I'll point out at the bottom, the public rep, resigned from Board 2, so we need to replace that one too. So that's kind of where we're at currently. Now if you turn to the second page, based on comments that are made at the county board, discussions with, Suzanne and I have discussed this at ETSB, we've had a little bit of discussion. We're going to end up at 12 members on the ETSB board as long as the consolidation that's been proposed goes forward. Those 4 dispatches, Sheriff, Romeoville, Eastcom, and Lincoln Way, they're going to all consolidate into one center, and then that's going to become 1 rep. So we're going to go from 15 reps to 12 reps. Even numbers aren't always a good thing in boards. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But to have a tiebreaker, we're suggesting, the county executive suggesting adding a second public rep. So we'll have 2 citizens at large, and we'll leave everything else the same because it is working generally. They have a county board rep, county executive rep, EMA, IT. We cover the kind of the county agencies and gives, we believe, a viable, adequate county voice on the ETSB. Having 2 citizens at large give us the opportunity to select whomever the county board and the county executive thinks is needed for the ETSB board. That could be somebody with a public safety background. It could be a business person. It could be some other field that we think we need. Could be a governmental representative. But the PSEPs obviously need representation because they're the ones doing the work. So that would fall to 3 members. And then the fire service and law enforcement, we believe, is still a good number. Those folks are selected among their agencies, so the chiefs of police select their 2 reps, and the fire agencies through their Mavis division select their reps. So we believe that too is an adequate and fair number for those. So it's a good balance on the board between fire and police, dispatch centers, and then county agencies. So.
Just to say there was no consideration of, I know that the Will County Sheriff had a rep because they had a dispatch center, but there was no consideration of even a Will County rep on.
We talked about this.
So it's countywide.
So here's the consideration for that. The sheriff will be part of the dispatch center that will be consolidated, so they have an opportunity to be that rep, and they're going to be the largest probably user of that dispatch center by call volume, so they would have an argument to be the rep, someone from their staff. I believe they also can be a rep through the law enforcement agencies too, so they actually have 3 spots that they could be a rep. I know in the chiefs of police, there's police chiefs who are members of that organization, and the sheriff's has had reps on that too as an organization. So I think there's, and we could always appoint them if we felt the need as to one of the public reps too. I mean, there's some flexibility, because I think this doesn't lock us into an absolute path.
No, but that's a good question, Mike. That was
Right, it's been discussed.
And we just,
So the impact, the bottom of that page, this is just a recommendation. The reps that, if we are thinking of going with this proposed plan, leaving kind of it as is, letting the consolidation occur, and adding another public spot, a number of these spots are not going to change on the board then, so I'm just going to go from top to bottom. The 2015 reps, Suzanne Hart is your county board representative. She's serving in an expired term. And these are bolded here. The fire rep, Dave Riddle, and the police rep was Bill Mort. We have a replacement for him. I would recommend, the county executive would recommend that we replace or reappoint those folks, because their positions aren't going to go away. So there's no harm in reappointing them and having them a current term. And because they're 2015, they will be up again in 2018 with a 3-year term. So they're not going to serve. I mean, they're serving now in an expired term, if that makes sense, but they're not going to have 3 more years from today. So Pam Buzan, I would leave maybe, if that's your desire to not appoint people that are going to go away, we can leave her as the EastCom rep, just continuing to serve as a unexpired term. They still have voting privileges and all that. But if that's your call, we could also reappoint her, and just when EastCom dissolves and becomes part of a new dispatch center, that position will go away. I mean, that's a fact. So, but I'll leave that alone for now. In 2016, Ken Kroll and Bob Control in that same circumstance. They're both dispatch reps. When the consolidation occurs, those positions will go away. It's your choice if you want to appoint. But I'm asking that you move forward with Chief Aaron Klima, Chief Howard Stevens, who are the police and fire reps, and Steve Rauter, who is the Westcom rep. By doing that, if we just reappoint the 6 that are on there. We'll have 6 of our existing 15 who are now, 6 more that are current, plus the 5, so that's, we'd have 11 of the 15 that would be current. I just think that's probably best practice to have people serving current, appointed terms rather than having lots and lots of people on expired terms. And we have 6 names for those in the 15 and 16 years. The public, we haven't submitted a name to the board yet, but we've got some ideas in the works for the first rep. That would be action that isn't necessary today. That would be next week. You'll move the appointments to the full board, and then at this month's board meeting, we would recommend you take action on the 6 that are bolded. The public rep, I got it bolded, but we're not going to do. And then the last thing I'll say, and then if there's any questions, if we're going to go forward with this proposed plan of consolidation, we can do that really, I think, whenever. But it would be, if this is the plan we're going towards, I would say we can signal that we're going to go to this, but maybe we want to hold off on officially reorganizing until the dispatch actually occurs, because then it's set in stone, for at least to the next time, and then all those consolidations will occur, the reductions will happen, and we can do it all at once, rather than, we really don't want to bump, we can't bump people out when the dispatch centers are still there, or I don't think it's a good idea, I guess we could, but I think we let them see the consolidation through and then eliminate their position, and the county board officially reconstitutes the board, and at that point we would add the second public rep, and then you'll take action to appoint that. So.
Nick, I would support those 6 going forward. If you want to bring those names forward next week, I'll open up for discussion. Is everybody okay with that?
Okay. I have no problem with that because those aren't going to go anywhere. I mean, we have an opportunity here, and you all have been attending these meetings. My question is, is the reduction to 13 enough? I mean, or would it be more efficient to have it down to maybe 11 where you're
Yeah,
taking
this
the
is
couple
actually,
of
this plan, and Nick and I have been talking about it, Chuck, and thank you for asking. This is a good formula. This is definitely a good formula that would, sorry.
You could probably do, like
sorry.
Nick mentioned, you could probably do 12, but just maybe.
We definitely don't want to do that. That could be ugly.
No. And not only that, I'd like to see another person from the general public on it, or somebody we think we need maybe certain expertise, who may be out of the kind of the traditional role of emergency management folks.
Someone with some technology.
Maybe somebody with more technology. So I actually think the number is probably about as about as much as we're going to get. I think that's where it's going to stay for a lot of years.
I mean, the only thing I was thinking is rather than go up to 13, let's originally go down to 11, which I know I don't disagree about the citizen at large, which allows us to have.
There's really no way to cut out,
But
like
the
this is
PSAPs,
already.
having 3 PSAPs, do you think that's an important?
Yeah.
Oh, I think
If I could respond,
I'm asking.
I fortunately didn't have to be directly involved in the last reorganization, but it involved a lot of big meetings with all the police and fire agencies and other interested parties coming together. I think where we're at was a good compromise at that time, and I think to kind of just dovetail on what Suzanne was saying, we've got a fair representation of all the people who are stakeholders in this. And there sometimes is a tug of how many county reps versus police and fire reps, but I think we're at a good balance by not one side is overweighted than the other, and those public reps can be kind of the tipping of being a kind of an independent voice maybe, or because at the end of the day we want good. When you call 911, the service to work, and so I think we're getting a good balance. Not people who are just going to benefit from the decision, but it's looking at the fiscal side, the technical side, and I think if you start peeling away people, then if you say hypothetically, you say well, we're going to get one less police rep, well then the fire guys are going to have two of them.
Balance is
so then
important too.
it's been negotiated. I think leave it alone. So
Okay, thank you.
So
I appreciate it.
good question.
I think I heard my question answered, but the bottom page when it says 2 reps, I was wondering why 2 public reps. I think Don Gould kind of asked the question. The pool you're looking for, in-person, fully public reps, someone with some knowledge, emergency, but why 2 after the public rep?
We have one now,
Correct.
and I don't know if that was put in to balance, or I'm not sure the logic, or maybe it may have just been to include the public. I think that our logic is, it gives you a second voice, so if you, I mean, we can pick, there's no restriction on who that public rep is. The previous rep who just resigned was a retired state police telecommunicator, which we thought was a good experience to have. A different, and because they're not directly tied in with our dispatch centers, but it's not limited to that. It could be an emergency management expert, it could be a technology expert, it could be a business person who
But
just.
you want 2 more people with
Which,
those.
it's 2 total.
It'd be 2 total.
2 total, right,
So,
2 total. Well, 1 more.
One more add.
But 2 total
2
with
total.
those expertise.
So you have, so you'd have, like, I mean, like the second page shows, 1 county board, 1 executive, 1 EMA, 1 IT. So those are all county folks, 2 public people, 2 police, and 2 police, 2 fire, and then the 3 dispatch. So
Okay.
it's an even
Yeah,
pie.
okay,
like it around.
okay.
And I believe the structure prior to the current one, I think there was 2. There was 2 citizens at large on the previous board organization. And then when this was reorganized, one of them went off.
State law requires a couple of those.
1?
At least one.
The one thing, and I've consistently told, Suzanne and I have talked about this too, the revised state law that drove the consolidation said what your minimum was, and I don't have all that on the tip of my tongue, but one of the things it did say was you don't need a county board rep, and I've consistently told our colleagues at the ETSB that I believe this board is gonna want a rep on the board. So stop saying that, because
We
we're.
have 2 at the Board of Health.
Right. And it's important to make that connection between county government and ETSB, just like the Board of Health, because they're connected, but they're somewhat autonomous, and it's just nice to have that bridge back and forth.
It helps in decision making.
Right.
Judy? Suzanne? Somebody shut up.
I just wanted to ask a question. So when we look at citizens at large, how do we look? Do we like advertise something? Do we know somebody in the community has a great expertise in something? How does that happen?
No, I think we just kind of, no, go ahead, Nick. I think
We
the executive
do-
office can do it anyways. You know.
Well, there's always room for additional outreach, but we have, one of the improvements we've made over the last 10 years maybe is all our appointments are online, so anybody who's interested can see who our boards and commissions are. They can nominate somebody else, they can nominate themselves. So we don't get a lot of folks that way, because a lot of these boards and commissions, we have to go out and find people, particularly in the rural areas, the drainage districts and things. Sometimes that's either hard to find or somebody recommends someone. But we, in this case, it's a little more specialized. We could do some formal public outreach, but there's been some names suggested to us already as people with a public safety background or governmental background that, so, but it's an open process, anybody can, there's certain positions, I'm trying to think of one off the top of my head right now, that, well, Planning and Zoning Commission, not ETSB, but we get people who want to do that, and so we'll take their names and hold on to their names. When there's a vacancy, we'll consider them, so. And board members can recommend folks if you have ideas for folks.
Well, I think it makes sense to look for people who have that expertise in that area, because this is an important thing. It's not just somebody who has nothing but would like to get involved. No, I think that's good. I was just wondering how you did that.
Suzanne?
No, that is a very good idea, because we have talked about this for so long. You also need to find someone that wants to sit on this board, because it becomes kind of grueling at some time. But I know looking at, and we talked about this before last winter, because I looked at the different surrounding large Colorado counties, of like what they were doing, and I did find it interesting. There was a few of the counties, and this is what he was saying about the governmental, that had someone from the governmental league that actually represents all of the municipalities, that would be able to go back and to go and communicate what is going on, which I think, especially what we've been going through this summer, I think that's very important to have all hands with the different mayors and municipalities. But then I know you had as well said that you had someone that had with the technology in the background. So we could, with the 2, we have now that opportunity to have
We
both
should put out
folks.
one thing though, that the dispatch centers are represented, and those are municipalities. I mean, amongst others, I mean, so they do,
There's a handful.
so they do get representation, municipalities do. And by the way, I don't think the government will need maybe but I just want, I mean,
No, and Nick
regardless,
pointed that out too.
they do have representations through the dispatch center representation.
That's correct.
So, just so people understand that, I just.
Yeah. Just another form of communication.
I think strong consideration should be given to someone who has a technical background. New radio system at the county, constantly changing technology. You have someone perhaps with an engineering background.
We do have Mike Shays on there.
We have
Yeah,
Ed, we
that's what, like, we have the best.
have Ed Bean in the EMA office who has but Harold is the rep, I know, for EMA.
This is for sharing thoughts. I think somebody who's served on boards and knows how to contribute proactively, get things done. We can have all the technocrats we want.
I think there's a lot of expertise already on that. I think there's a lot of expertise, but I think sometimes somebody who has no particular, they're not necessarily from the law enforcement side, they're not necessarily from the fire side or the emergency side. Somebody who can kind of look at it.
There's some checks and balances.
A checks and balances person, I should say. Yes.
I think Bruce volunteered himself.
Well,
for the
he's
board.
been there already.
Okay.
He's been there.
That's what it sounds like.
He's been there already.
He's got the expertise already.
Okay, Nick, why don't we do this? Bring the names forward for the next week's executive committee meeting, and then we'll move those forward to the board. Okay? All right. Okay, thank you.
And you have a name for the public record?
We don't.
We don't. Is this going to be the 6th?
I think we'll do the 6th. Yeah.
The 6th this month, and then maybe the public rep. I mean, I guess Mr. Chairman, would you entertain if we had a 7th name for the public rep? Would you want to do that, or you would rather?
Nick, if you're actually having someone who's ready to go, I would say bring it. But,
If not, we'll wait.
Because you're short of public rep anyway.
Let's just do the 6th, and then I want you to be able to do a nice, not a rush search.
Right.
So take your time on that one.
I'll communicate with the board office and let you know what we're going to do. But the 6 are definitely ready to go. So.
Okay, the 6 will bring forward.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Is there any other old business please forward? Okay, the new business discussion on the Laraway Dispatch Center. I have this on here, and I'll probably have it on the next one. I'm going to leave it on probably, this is a standing item till we're completed with the process. It's moving along. Nick, the executive's office is working on it. I continue to talk to folks, and it's moving along. Can you say more than that, Nick?
I know.
You can if you want.
Well, I just very quickly, because
the process is moving.
That's all absolutely correct. I agree with everything you said. The only thing is, I think a bunch of the board members were at the Capital Committee. I think we discussed it, but just a quick summary beyond what you said. Our understanding, both the speakers and our office, is that the agencies that are coming together are renewing their effort to finalize bylaws. Once they have those bylaws, they're going to go to all their members, and I know Suzanne is a Forest Preserve is a member of that group, but they're going to push real hard to get those approved. Once they get those approved or agreed to in concept, they can move to establishing a formal legal entity that then the county can agree to a lease with for the cost of build out, rent, etc., and we'll be done with it. So there's basically 2 steps that need to get this to completion so that we're kind of done and you've got it set. They have to establish themselves, and that's their deal, their opportunity. Forest Preserve is part of that. The county is not. Once they've established themselves as a legal entity, we formally negotiate the terms, and we've had informal discussions with them what that looks like. We've talked about that at Capitol, and I think maybe at executives too. But once we can do that, we can get a lease in place, just like the ETSB we already have done and will be done. And then the construction started yesterday, will continue. We're expecting them, all or most of them, to be in that facility because it's a good deal. And I think most of them know that, so that'll be the next steps for board members.
And we'll just leave this on the agenda. We didn't even just put update on it. We'll just leave it on until we're completed with it. Thanks. We're going to have some a couple additional items to place on the agenda today. One would be the contract with CDM Smith for the consulting service for freight mobility study. So, and then we also will have replacement hires for the supervisor assessments office. So I'll entertain a motion to place those on the agenda. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? You know, the only thing I'll mention about the supervisor assessment hires, remember we already approved them for posting. So we're aware of this, so just in case anybody didn't recall it. So the new process I think is working. If you really want to have a discussion, you just don't. Or if you don't want to hire, you don't do the postings. So I just kind of want to make that kind of, I want to pick the bait down. Okay. Then I'll entertain a motion to committee assignments as amended. Okay, what would you like to
So
do?
we're going to delete the OPEB investment policy since we didn't talk about it, we'll talk about it next month.
We're
Okay.
just assigning it for next month, that month.
Just leave the sign. Yeah.
We have it separate.
Just the sign. So, okay.
And I do have a question about executive.
Yes.
Can I ask that question?
Sure.
I have a question about executive. Number one, adopted annual 1,000-hour standard for IMRF.
Okay,
Where did that come from?
well, I think it came from the whole idea of this whole idea of maybe pension reform, the passing of legislation that kind of addresses, kind of hours you're putting in. Let me say this. This county adopted a 600-hour standard.
Right.
I might also add, this affects no one that's currently
Correct.
working.
No,
This is things going forward. So let's talk about pension reform. Should people working 12 hours a week get the benefit of a pension? Because now let me tell you what happens. They accumulate the time. They don't make any money. Then they become full-time for 5 years. And now their pension is based on that full-time, even though they were a very part-time person originally.
correct.
This is what I think the public objects to. It's really called spiking your pension. This is the problem in public pensions. Most units of government use 1,000 hours, which means you have to work 20 hours a week, basically. And most people would consider that a regular part-time position. Should we, and by the way, and there's a certain liability that goes along with this to the taxpayers. Because and I don't know how many we have. We may not have any, or for all I know. I mean, I just don't know. So, do we want to have a standard that says you will at least work like a regular part-time job of 20 hours or more to be eligible for this benefit? So, that's the discussion. My understanding is that you can go to 1,000 hours, but you can't go back to 6. So once it's done, it's done. So the question is do you want to give pensions to people that work 10 hours a week? Well, no, I know, but I'm asking this in general. Should be the policy of this board to provide pensions for people who are basically going to work 10 hours a week, and they can spike it for a very short period of time, and basically then collect a full-time pension. Is that fair to the full-time workers? Is that fair to the taxpayers?
I thought they passed legislation so they could do that. It's spiking part. I thought that there was some
It's not
legislation.
yeah, that spiking is a 1-year spike. You can do the 5 years, it's
And then
not a
I
spike.
just have a question.
I would call it a
This
spike.
doesn't affect anybody that's already in the.
No, no. It would only be for new hires.
Correct.
And I don't think that's unreasonable to at least have that discussion. If you're truly interested in some type of, we can't really affect pension reform much, but this is one of the areas you could look at, which I think is reasonable. Pardon?
Say if it's 20.
In 52 weeks, it's under 20
12
hours.
12 hours a week.
On the 600, right?
On 600.
Oh, 600, right.
And that's based on a 50-year
Right.
week.
But for
So
1,000,
you figure the amplification time, it's 1,000 is 20
20
hours.
hours.
20 hours a week. So I'm just throwing out there for discussion, whether this is the time, since it's been something that's going to come up. And there's been some members who brought it up to me also, so why are we 600?
This is going
Why are we 600 anyway? I mean,
And we're not making a decision here today. This is just to put this on the agenda.
this is just for discussion.
No, I understand.
Yeah.
This is for
So
discussion.
it's
So,
That's why I put
a
it
kickoff.
so if there's a good argument, if you want to make a good argument for $600, we should make it, for example. But this would affect, because I don't think, and I'll ask Mary, we can't affect current employees anyway. So any current employee stays where they're at. This is just for future hires. Michael?
Yeah, I think this is certainly reasonable. I'd like to go even more, but, if everybody was comfortable with 20 hours, I would definitely push it there. Personally, I think it should go to 30 hours. Because I don't see how we should be paying pensions to part-time people in 20 hours at a time. However, it's certainly better than 12 hours.
Yes.
Okay. So, so I'd say discussion, I can leave it on for the executive, we can push over to the executive committee, well, it's going over to the executive committee for assignment, and at which time we will have all the information. Melissa, you can work with, and Bruce, you can get all the stuff, you can IMRF, Mary, if there's anything you need to make us aware of. HR, all that, absolutely. Tidwell, Tidwell?
It was.
Okay, it's be something that absolutely Bruce Tidwell will have to be part of. Whatever, just get the information and let us know what's involved, and people can bring it forward, and people can make a decision.
Yeah, but I have a discussion on it then, when we have the information. And
Right. A motion to move committee assignment request.
Second.
As amended for, okay. You got a motion, second, all in favor? Opposed, motion carries. I think there is going to be a need for an executive session today for labor negotiations, is that correct? I gotta get flipping my fingers. Anything else? Any comments by the public? I'll do that now before we go on executive session. Any comments by committee members before we go into executive session?
Jen, regarding judicial,
Yes.
there was no action. Mary spoke at judicial, let me find it there, regarding the Will County fees pursuant to the change with the reduction of jurors and then the increased fees to the county. Bill Mock was scheduled to come before us today. I guess the Supreme Court ruled that unconstitutional, Mary, correct? And so we won't be voting on any reduction of court fees because we didn't take the action to establish the new legislation. So therefore, Mary, you want to help me out here?
So,
Give it to the executive.
No action required.
So the county board has passed a resolution, I believe in 1998, establishing compensation to the juries at $10 a day plus mileage. When the state legislation was passed, we did not feel it was necessary for you to pass a new ordinance because the state statute required you pay $50 a day to the jurors. So when they found that legislation unconstitutional, the previous ordinance that you had in place is still effective. So as it stands now, based on your ordinance, jurors are paid $10 a day plus mileage. The $50 a day went away.
So if we change anything, we'd have to do.
We have to know, yeah. to know
At that
it.
point, you'd have to do an ordinance.
And, you know, as long as we're up here now, if I read, one of your Mary, so I see the same-day registration was off,
Now it's on.
now it's back on?
It is. It is.
Okay,
There's-
so,
So yes, the district court imposed an injunction, and they did not rule on the merits of the complaint. They just found that the plaintiff in the case would likely prevail. So they imposed an injunction taking same-day registration off. Lisa Madigan appealed it to the federal appellate court, and they imposed a stay on the injunction. So stay tuned.
yeah. Well, it'll give them some time to,
Maybe.
argue it out, yeah.
I'm quite frankly hoping they do nothing that gets too confusing, I think, for the voters and for the people trying to put the elections on.
Certainly for the clerks of the, okay. Right. Okay, is there any other comments? No? Okay, then I'll entertain a
Motion to
motion.
go into executive session for collective bargaining.
Okay, motion second, take the roll, please.
Mayor?
Yes.
Benfield?
Yes.
Brooks?
Yes.
Chirpillo?
Yes.
Carter? Moran?
Yes.
O'Gallon? Weigel? Yes.
Yes.